Allie, do you want to raise your hand? Allie is our peer supporter today, so if at any point anyone needs someone to talk to, feel free to talk to Allie. Equally important, we have hot chocolate over there. Please drink it, because it's in a cardboard box. Other important things, we ask that it's totally fine if people tweet, take photos, that kind of thing, but we ask that when survivors speak about their experiences, you ask them for permission before using their names, just to protect their safety. Is there anything else you want to say? Oh, and just a general content warning for this rally. We'll provide more specific ones before various speeches, but obviously some of the signs could be triggering, so just keep that in mind.
Who's next?
Brandy. Oh, and so our first speaker is going to be Brandy Blocker-Anderson, who I'm going to come meet.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. Who's a third-year law student at Columbia and is amazing and is in narrative.
Thanks, Megan.
Woo! Woo!
Go, Brandy!
It's automatically on. You're good.
Okay.
All right, awesome. So, as Amelia said, my name is Brandy, and I'm a third year at Columbia Law School. So I joined No Red Tape because I was sexually assaulted by one of my law school classmates in April of 2015 during my first year at Columbia. I formally reported the incident to the university the following day and sought mental health, academic, and safety accommodations. But at each office and at each turn, I was met with responses ranging from inaction and incompetence to apathy and outright cruelty. Instead of removing my perpetrator from our shared classes, the law school made me stay out of class and listen to audio recordings instead. And despite the fact that my assailant told the university investigators that I said no repeatedly, he was ultimately found not responsible for sexual assault and harassment. After nearly 175 days of going through the process with little to no support, my appeal was ultimately denied, despite glaring procedural errors. I felt utterly alone and defeated. And I came close to taking the law school's dean of students up on her offer to just leave Columbia. Due to the PTSD and trauma I experienced, both at the hand of my perpetrator, as well as at the hand of administrators and employees who were supposed to support and protect me. I joined No Red Tape in October of 2015, and that's what kept me going. When I met with the organization's members, I realized that I was no longer alone in facing the pressures and injustices of being a survivor at Columbia. NRT has empowered me to call out systemic problems and channel the knowledge I've gained and the frustration I feel into policy proposals and demands that can ensure that other students wouldn't have to go through what I went through. We're here today because we hope that the current administration and school administrators nationwide will affirm their commitment to enforcing the current guidelines and strengthening those protections under Title IX. Overall, we want an affirmative public acknowledgement that these protections are non-negotiable and critical to ensuring education equality, including adequate sexual violence prevention and response. Columbia has a long way to go, but we know that if not for Title IX, there would be nothing for people like me. The letter that 100 organizations have signed off on is important because it calls attention to the current danger that the Obama administration's federal guidelines are in right now. We've already seen a rollback in protections for transgender students and threats to protections for students with disabilities. We don't want to see the same thing happen to survivors' rights under Title IX. This letter also challenges the current administration as well as college administrators to commit and recommit to preserving students' rights under Title IX and calls for the strengthening of the protections that the Office of Civil Rights guidelines have already set out in terms of due process, enforcement, mental health accommodations, and protections for LGBT students, undocumented students, and students of color. And finally, this letter demonstrates a unity among college campuses and organizations that represent the interests of sexual violence survivors of all diverse backgrounds. Our voices matter. I hope attendees today will leave this rally with a renewed commitment to supporting student survivors, activists, and allies, as well as a sense of encouragement and empowerment in knowing that our voices and experiences matter. Sexual violence is too often swept under the rug and shrouded in secrecy out of fear and lack of understanding. So we all should come away emboldened to speak out about these issues in the hope that doing so will change policies, laws, minds, hearts, and even people's lives. I think it's imperative that college students' voices are heard, especially around Title IX issues. Because unlike other levels of schooling, we tend to live and learn in spaces maintained by our schools. As a result, we are uniquely vulnerable to sexual violence, from the classroom to the dorm room and all the spaces in between. Additionally, many college students are away from their familiar support systems for the first time and therefore rely on university employees to keep them safe and to protect them, to help them navigate the institutions if they are impacted by sexual violence. When universities fail to adequately respond to these crimes, the impact reverberates beyond the incidents of sexual violence themselves into students' lives, academically, economically, emotionally, and physically. As individuals entering the workforce, college students and graduate students deserve an equal opportunity to thrive and be heard as the next generation of professionals and leaders. By asserting our right to be free of gender-based discrimination and harassment early on, we are in the best position to create and promote a world and future where sexual violence is no longer tolerated. Thank you. Woo!
Cool. You want to chant?
You want to share?
Oh.
Snow, sleet, rain, shine, you can't trump our Title IX!
Snow, sleet, rain, shine, you can't trump our Title IX!
Snow, sleet, rain, shine, you can't trump our Title IX!
Snow, sleet, rain, shine, you can't trump our Title IX!
Snow, sleet, rain, shine, you can't trump our Title IX!
Snow, sleet, rain, shine, you can't trump our Title IX!
Snow, sleet, rain, shine, you can't trump our Title IX!
Snow, sleet, rain, shine, you can't trump our Title IX!
Me introducing? Yeah.
All right, next we're going to have a representative from the graduate school.
Down. Right here.
Okay, next we're going to have A.L. Hugh, who is a member of the bargaining committee of the Graduate Workers of Columbia.
We all contain multitudes. We all coexist on the same planet. We share the same city. We attend the same university to turn our passions into our professions and to learn and grow as we study. My name is A.L. Hugh. You and I have many similarities, but we also have many differences. That's what makes us unique, and that's what gives us strength as a student body. I contain multitudes. As a teaching assistant at GSAP, I organize with the Graduate Workers of Columbia to fight for transparency, fair compensation, and recognition of workers united. We deserve to have enforceable protections from discrimination on campus and in the workplace, gender-based or not, so we can do our work. The Graduate Workers of Columbia fully supports Title IX and no red tape's work in pressuring Columbia University to hold themselves to Title IX. I contain multitudes. As a first-generation Asian American, I have come to see the American dream for what it is, partly a complex scam, but mostly like a lot of things in life. It's what you put into it and make of it that counts. But I will never, ever have the same opportunities or be perceived in the same way as my cis white male colleagues. Equality demands that the playing field be leveled and protected so that the oppressed get the same chances at reaching for their dream as the privileged do. I contain multitudes. As a non-binary transgender person, You are he's and she's, and I am they. You may not understand yet, but that's okay. It's important to respect other people's rights to exist, even if you do not understand them, not only in the classroom, not only in the bathroom of their choice, but on the street and in the city, because we all deserve the freedom to live our own lives. Queer spaces and safe spaces should not be extraordinary, but radically inclusive and expansive to ensure access to all spaces for all people. I contain multitudes. As a survivor of sexual violence, the statistics remind me of all too common stories, sometimes my own, and it shakes me to my core. What is the value of safety in a university? Why is it important for the assaulted to be heard and believed? Why is that so difficult? Why does our culture hold people assigned female at birth to impossible standards of beauty, nurturance, pureness, subservience, silence, and invisibility? I will never put out the burning fire of anger lit in me by the sexual violence I've experienced, because that anger fuels me. People's lives are at stake, and there's so much work to be done at the institutional and societal levels. You and I may not always see things on the same level, but we all contain multitudes, and that's what connects us. Our differences are unique, but what we share binds us together. And until we can trust that Columbia will follow through on Title IX to ensure that every student and worker the freedom and safety to pursue their passions free of discrimination, harassment, and violence, we will rally and demand the university do better. Because if we cannot trust an institution like Columbia University to protect the marginalized, it has utterly and completely failed at its core mission.
Next, we will be hearing from Spence, a student at Barnard College.
So I'm from DC proper. This is just something I wrote about missing girls. Cool. I'm from DC. This is about the missing girls. I feel really close to this subject because someone really close to me is a victim of this. So, when I was asked to write, I just wrote. Imagine you're walking around in DC. Imagine racing against the light from the Safeway across the street from your house, a route you know like the back of your hand. Imagine you're taking a breath at the post office right around the corner, and suddenly your mouth is being covered by a smelly rag and a harsh voice in your ear warning you not to scream. Imagine waking up not knowing where you are, surrounded by a bunch of other girls being forced to do the unthinkable. Now imagine the police not saying a word. Imagine you're walking around in DC, leaving school after a late scholarship search, after an even later play rehearsal. Imagine walking up Euclid Street to Georgia Avenue to take the 70 bus downtown, expecting to see the usual late-night motley crew of old heads and school kids going home just like you. Imagine instead of seeing the bus pull up, it's an unmarked van of men with guns forcing you inside and never letting you out. Now imagine your situation being reduced to a hashtag. Imagine you're walking around in DC, you just got off the 64 bus, and you're on 11th and E surrounded by tourists and food and Warner theater goers and street performers, 4 blocks down, 3 blocks over from the park you've been hanging at for years. Imagine being hit from behind right before you hit Freedom Plaza and waking up in your worst nightmare. Now imagine the police are downplaying your danger by calling you a runaway. I can't imagine my city being this unsafe. I can't imagine getting the call that my sister hasn't been home in 3 days and nobody has heard from her. I can't imagine the ease with which these girls are being snatched off the streets, and I really can't imagine the reactions from the police when they say that DC doesn't have a human trafficking problem and that we shouldn't care about these black and brown girls because they're allegedly runaways. Nobody will help them, so the rest of us are to take precautions. Don't be out late. Don't travel by yourself. Carry a weapon. have your location on, always tell someone where you're going, etc. That's great advice and all, but my weapon is illegal and so are these crimes, and I shouldn't be scared of my own city. Find our girls, man. They shouldn't have been lost in the first place.
Okay, now I just want to invite everyone to tweet, Instagram, Facebook, any kind of social media you use the hashtag Can't Trump Our Title IX to tell everyone why Title IX protections are important to you. If it's protection for queer and trans students, protections for students who are parents, protections for survivors of gender issue about Title IX. Tweet it, Facebook it, anything you want to do. Tell everyone why it's important and why we need these protections in our schools.
If you want to add at Columbia.
Yes, if you want to add Columbia, please do. Or any other school that has failed you in any way.
At DC Police Department.
Yeah.
And also, we just want to invite, if anyone else that wants to speak, if they have anything they want to share about their experiences with Title IX, we want to invite anyone to do that now. Or not.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you. Essentially socializing. Typing with one hand is.
Okay, now our next speaker is Doss, who's a PhD student in sociology at Columbia University.
Do I need?
If you want to. You don't have to.
Hello. Maybe I'll try to project without it because I feel like it's going to get in the way because I'm using my hands. Okay. Thank you for having me here today. My name's Joss. I'm a PhD student in sociology. I'm also a board member of the Sylvia Rivera Law Project, which is a law clinic and organizing center for low-income TGNCI people of color in New York City. I was so honored to get invited to come to this rally. And so I just wanted to start by taking us off our campus because I think that if we didn't know we were involved in a long-term fight to end gender-based violence before the election of Donald Trump, we definitely know we're in a protracted struggle now. And that means that we have to take it really seriously about where gender violence actually comes from, which means we have to look at who's experiencing the most violence, which means that as a white trans boy, even though I'm a survivor, I go to school here and I'm not the one experiencing the brunt of the violence. So I want to start by uplifting the name and the story of Brescia Meadows. So who here knows Brescia's story? Okay, so I'm going to tell us a little bit about it. So Brescia Meadows is a 15-year-old black girl. She's currently incarcerated in the state of Ohio because when she was 14, she was criminalized for fighting back against the long-term abuse of her father. She's still in prison. And there's a nationwide solidarity movement to free Brescia and to free all women and girls that are currently in prison because they have been criminalized for fighting back for their survival after the criminal justice system has failed to keep our people safe. So I want to invite you all to join the movement to free Brescia. There's a week of action from April 10th to 17th. You can learn more about it by going to freebrescia.wordpress.com. And so I hope you'll join in that movement. And it's important, I think, that we start from that place because what Brescia's story also shows us is that it is a lie that the criminal justice system keeps our people safe. Every week I'm mourning another trans sister. The rates of sexual violence, when we're looking at the communities that are most vulnerable to violence, which means centering black women, Latino women, indigenous women, sex workers, poor women, women of trans experience, gender non-conforming femmes, are so unbelievably high, and we live in a country that spends more on the criminal justice system than any of our social infrastructure. If it was actually true that that kept our people safe, we wouldn't see the rates of gender-based violence that we see. So when they say that that money keeps us safe, we know it's a lie.
What we do know is what they do is they criminalize us after we fight back for our survival when there is not a system that keeps us safe. And so, when I heard that Title IX might get moved from the Department of Education to the Department of Justice, I was like, oh, I have to speak at this rally. How dare they appropriate our grief and our pain and our trauma to build up the very system that is harming our communities more than almost anything else in this country. They don't get to do that. And I'm not saying that we have all the solutions to these problems, right? I think that's the thing. As someone that centers trans women of color and GNC femmes in my work, like, it is because I love trans women and because I love trans femmes that I take this work really seriously. And because I take the violence they experience seriously, I know that that system doesn't work, and we have to figure out what is actually going to work to keep our people safe. But what doesn't work is when all the resources that could go to building up our own solutions and systems get gobbled up by sheriff's departments, because in most municipalities, between 40 and 60% of the city budget goes to the sheriff's department. We don't have the money to go to the other things that will actually produce safety in our communities. And what also happens is that we discount ourselves as having the capacity to actually build something to keep ourselves safe. Because we're told that the administration is going to keep us safe. And we're told that the cops are going to keep us safe. And we actually stop believing that we are brilliant and creative and resilient and powerful and capable of doing things to keep each other safe and to help each other heal. Even though, so Mariam Kaba says, if you have a problem in your life or something that really matters, you don't go to the most racist, sexist, violent person you know to help solve it. And that's why we don't go to the cops. Because they are the most racist, sexist, violent people we know. So when we care about something like ending violence against trans women of color, which is something that I care about, I'm not going to the most racist, sexist, violent system that actually causes them harm. And we have to get together and get really serious about what is going to solve that, but we know that it's not telling the Department of Justice that they can get the NYPD on our campus to end gender-based violence, because that's not going to do it. So I think another thing is that even as we're fighting for Title IX, we know that actually laws and policies inherently don't do anything to change the conditions of our lives, right? I mean, we live in this country, so we've seen civil rights legislation, we've seen anti-discrimination ordinances, we've seen a lot of laws that say nice things about us, and the conditions on the ground are not any closer to being free from white supremacy and patriarchy and Islamophobia and homophobia and ableism. You know, there have been shifts, but it hasn't done it just because we have new laws. And so that's why I think even as we're fighting for Title IX, we have to be clear about why it is that we're fighting for it. And we're not fighting for it because changing a law inherently makes our conditions better. We're fighting for it because in protracted struggle, you have to have gains on the ground to fight for something further. And this is something that allows us to then push the administration with something that they're supposed to be held accountable to. So we're not fighting for it just because if it's passed or if it's upheld, then we can all go home, right? And just trust that everything's going to be better. We're fighting for it because we have to have a more advanced position to continue to fight on the ground for actual justice on our campus. And I think that's the other thing. So I was thinking about Title IX and like, what does it actually symbolize? And I hadn't ever read it actually before. But I was just reading through it and I was trying to think about it. And to me, at the heart, what Title IX says is that this campus must be a place where all women, femmes, and girls can learn. Right? That's what that says. And that's a beautiful thing that I will fight for. I want this campus to be a place where all women, femmes, and girls can learn. And when we have something like Title IX that can unite our vision, to unite our fight for that to happen, maybe sometime our tactic is going to be lobbying the administration. Sometimes our tactic is going to be talking to each other about how to do it, but it's useful to have a united vision so we can push for this long-term fight. So thank you for inviting me to come speak today. I do want to say, if you will join me in saying Brisha's name, so we're going to say Brisha Meadows, I'll say it, you say it, we're going to say it 3 times. So, say her name, Brisha Meadows!
Brisha Meadows!
Brisha Meadows!
Brisha Meadows!
Brisha Meadows!
Brisha Meadows!
Free her, free all our family currently behind bars, center trans women in our feminism. It's the only way it makes sense. Thank you.
speaker is Amelia Roskin-Frazee, a student in Columbia College. Before Amelia speaks, we just wanted to give a brief content warning for mentions of victim blaming and homophobia.
Hi everyone, tell me if I don't speak loudly enough. Failing student makes up lies to sue Learning Center because she can't pay back loans. Fake news. This whole thing is clearly made up. Beyond fishy, raped twice by the same guy and for various extraordinary coincidences can't make an identification, nothing about any of this makes sense. Real victims go to the police. It is grossly irresponsible not to report something like this to the authorities. By not reporting the first incident, she is endangering the lives and well-being of other women in the community. This entire story reads of irresponsibility from everyone involved, yes, including the victim. She's attending Columbia University. I would think she would have been smart enough to report to the police and get a rape kit. Her story is not even remotely plausible. If you were raped so violently that you passed out from the pain, I had no idea that was even possible, why wouldn't you go to the police? That makes no sense, especially because she clearly has no privacy concerns. Such bullshit, again. After Mattress Girl, everyone who cries rape wants the school to make them feel safe, feel good, feel accommodated. This is unreal. So many things of this incident are wrong. Seriously, cases like this just invite people to think rape is not real and just a way to cash in. If you bring home a guy you don't know, that's on you. Why didn't she go to the police or her college after the first rape? Why didn't she go to the police after the second rape? And her need for academic support sounds like she was having an extremely hard time adjusting to her college workload. I don't know, sounds fishy. $10 says she's lying. I would think it's smart to carry a mace or a knife or get a gun license and get a small handgun to protect yourself if you become that paranoid. If she didn't after the second time, shame on her. She should have reported it and done a rape kit. She didn't follow through. She shouldn't be suing Columbia for her mistake. Twice, I have questions. This story has a rotten fish smell. Why did she not go to the police? Why did she not go to the ER? Why can't she remember one physical characteristic? Why are there no witnesses or video? She has been working on this since high school. She's an awful person who is comfortable perpetuating a lie. Most likely never happened. Something ain't right here. I don't get the reporting delays. I thought lesbians liked that. This girl has psychological issues. She already has claimed she'd been assaulted before. She comes to CU billing herself as an anti-sexual assault crusader from day one. While at CU, in order to further her career as an activist, she stages this crime herself. Then she complains to the Title IX office knowing they'll do nothing. Clearly no police report is filed because filing a false police report is a crime. Afterwards, she sues CU for monetary gain and even more likely to make a name for herself. That's what happens to rats. Fake as shit. Her creative writing masterpiece, this is fake. Are her parents dead? They better put some sense in her skull. So she didn't file a police report but instead sues the university. Either she's a bit retarded or she's lying. LOL, I'm sorry for laughing, but this gotta be a joke. By instinct, it sounds like a hate crime hoax. Sounds like a lie, another attention seeker. Did they go out to eat after the rape? You think she is so stupid not to recognize the person who did this to her for the first time? She made it all up. Trying my best not to laugh. All I'm saying is I've never met a girl with a hyphenated last name who wasn't a total bitch. My name is Amelia Roskin-Frazee. Let me tell you some things about me. I'm queer. I grew up more obsessed with Les Miserables than Justin Bieber. I love tomato sauce but hate tomato chunks. My biggest pet peeve is being stuck behind someone walking slowly because they're looking at their phone. I'm one of the worst athletes on the planet, yet have managed to break 2 bones playing sports. I listen to the same song 50 times in a row until I get sick of it. I cover my ears during most movies because I get scared easily. I write angry Facebook posts way too often. I sleep too little. I find ignorant people too infuriating. I drink too much hot chocolate. And I'm suing Columbia. And that's probably all you remember about me. I wish you knew me as the girl you can talk to about calypso music or seek out if you need cute wombat pictures. But instead, you know me as the girl who was raped twice in 2015 and is arguing Columbia should have done more to protect her. As is sadly true for many survivors of sexual violence, the 0.06% of my life when I interacted with my rapist has consumed more than 60% of my life since. I still almost wet myself at the sound of closing doors. I wake up with my throat sore because I silently scream all night. Sometimes I can't get out of bed, so I just lay there all day. I barely show up to meetings for the queer group I'm in on campus because I'm scared showing up will make me a further target. However, the point of this isn't to talk about all the things you can see in court documents. Initially, I was tempted to correct any of the dozens of factual inaccuracies I've seen people throw around. I was tempted to stoop down to the level of commenters and agree to take that $10 bet about my truthfulness. I was tempted to try to set myself apart from survivors who don't have the privilege of having the evidence I have. But something strange happened. I responded to one of the dozens of online comments I shared with you at the beginning of this piece. An hour later, the person responded, "OMG, didn't expect a reply," was a troll comment, but honestly, if you were raped, I'm sorry that happened to you. That person drew my attention to something important. For some reason, we get so attached to the drama of assault stories that we forget survivors are human beings. So instead of telling you about the importance of Title IX, as so many speakers before me have eloquently done, I want this speech to be about reminding you that I am human, and that all survivors who rely on Title IX are not hypothetical. Some of you take the time to remind me I'm worthy as being seen as human, and for you I'm tremendously grateful. I ask people to come up with creative alternatives to "sounds fishy," the expression so often used in the comments I read above. And the suggestions my friends made in response were, "Oh shit, she's right," "I believe you," and perhaps my personal favorite, "I will never accept that something that never happened to me can happen to somebody else." Some of you have taken the time to tell me my assaults weren't my fault, distract me by gossiping about silly reality TV, or bring me flowers. But some people, perhaps listening to this, might not remember I'm a person. Some of you laugh at the details of my violations in comment sections like I can't read. You think you have the authority to tell me what I should have done after being assaulted, like I don't question myself daily. You've scoured the internet trying to find things proving I'm lying, like anyone would put themselves through this hell for something that didn't happen. While I knew scrutiny would come with naming myself publicly, I didn't want to be another Jane Doe like some unidentified murder victim on Law & Order. I'm not every woman. I am not every survivor. I'm not even representative of the demographics most vulnerable to violence. I'm just one person who shouldn't be reduced to how her rapist wanted to define her. For years, schools like Columbia that violate Title IX have thrived on dehumanizing survivors. Survivors like myself are reduced to statistics on Clery crime reports, if our schools include us on those reports at all. I think school administrators have to dehumanize us in order to sleep at night. The Trump administration similarly needs to dehumanize survivors, because to acknowledge real people are harmed by violence is to acknowledge our president is a racist, xenophobic, transphobic serial rapist whose actions have completely destroyed people's lives. So I'm here to ask all of you to go against that trend and try to remember that the people who need Title IX to survive aren't hypothetical. We are human beings. We see your comments, we hear your laughter, we feel real pain. I sing songs from Hamilton when I'm driving alone. I memorize the 129 digits of pi just to prove to my dad I can memorize more digits than he could. And I like having a hyphen in my name. And I'm suing Columbia, but please don't let that be all you remember about me.
The students united will never be defeated.
The students united will never be defeated. The students united will never be defeated. The students united will never be defeated. The students united will never be defeated. The students united will never be defeated.
The students.
So, next we have a statement from the National Women's Political Caucus, one of the 100 organizations that signed our Title IX demand letter. Sexual assault and gender-based violence is rampant on college campuses across the country. Title IX is one of the cornerstones of the fight against this national epidemic. In the current political environment, we must not only push forward, but doggedly protect the rights already won. I commend No Rotate Columbia and all those taking part in the National Day of Action to protect Title IX. Together, we can put the country back on the path to true inclusion and equality. This is from Donna Lentz, the president of National Women's Political Caucus.
Brandy, you want to chant?
Title IX is here to stay.
Some of us will be going to deliver
the Title IX letter to Suzanne Goldberg.
the Title IX letter to Suzanne Goldberg.
Goldberg is the EVP of University Life,
Goldberg is the EVP of University Life,
Special Advisor to Columbia's President on Sexual Assault,
Special Advisor to Columbia's President on Sexual Assault,
Head of the Center for Gender and Sexuality Law,
Head of the Center for Gender and Sexuality Law,
Professor at Columbia Law School,
Professor at Columbia Law School,
University Senator,
University Senator,
Rules Administrator,
Rules Administrator,
Head of the Sexual Respect Initiative,
Head of the Sexual Respect Initiative,
and occasional blogger for Student Press.
and occasional blogger for Student Press.
Even with all these titles,
Even with all these titles,
Goldberg has refused
Goldberg has refused
to respond adequately
to respond adequately
to the demands of survivors on this campus.
to the demands of survivors on this campus.
Even though
Even though
they are in line with her values
they are in line with her values
as a so-called LGBTQ rights activist.
as a so-called LGBTQ rights activist.
If you would like to come with us
If you would like to come with us
to deliver the letter,
to deliver the letter,
we will be gathering after the rally.
we will be gathering after the rally.
We'll be leaving some signs as well in her waiting room area. Yes.
Are we going now?
Yeah. It's very soggy, but honestly, she's not going to read it, so I don't think it really matters. It's fine.
We could just like drape this over Alma.
Yeah, or we can drape it on her couch.
Do a duct tape face card too.
So we're going to chant as we walk. I'm just going to grab one.
Can you pour me a cup?
No.